How can one care so much about life in this world? It's so good to be happy. My writing style is limited, and I cannot write exciting stories. Time is limited. Let me leave a story in this world as if I have come before. I hope I will not be forgotten, even if only one person has a slight impression of my name. When I arrive in the underworld, I will mention your achievements to the CEO. Blessing you. Chapter 1. Heartless. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Let me have a dream first. Are you reading a novel? Why are you so serious? With just one thought, everything is very logical. I won't open my harem anymore. It's already exhausting to love someone, and even if I love too much, my body can't bear the burden of living. A middle-aged man in his 30s was lying on a lounge chair, surrounded by several children. The children were only 8 years old and the younger were 3 or 4 years old, sitting on a small stool listening attentively. This middle-aged man is not like a normal person, with a pale face, thin as a skeleton covered in layers of skin, and a haggard expression on his face. He looks at the children around him who are listening attentively and happily saying something, saying it for a while to catch his breath, listening closely. It seems like a story is being told. A long, long time ago, it was said that there were so few people in the world. Later on, they were all single in this world. Until forever. The middle-aged man became increasingly tired as he spoke, his voice decreasing as he slowly closed his eyes and fell asleep. In the depths of the universe and the starry sky, two pillars of light are extremely prominent. Upon closer inspection, two figures stand tall within the pillars of light, or rather, the pillars of light are formed by these two figures. The radiance emitted by the two pillars of light filled the starry sky, dyeing it into a dark blue color, constantly colliding and melting as if trying to engulf each other. The dark light column cannot hold any light, like a blind world, emitting a radiance that engulfs everything, leaving only darkness in this half-starry sky. It looks like drowning, suffocating and unable to resist. The softness of the blue light column and the radiance it emits, like the blue sky of autumn, are pure and natural, making people feel at ease and able to tolerate everything, even the hopeless darkness. In the dark beam of light, a blood-red figure stood out, which could not be swallowed. The blood was flowing automatically, covered in blood armor, and the blue figure was staring at. A figure was suspended and lying on its side in the blue light column, with one hand supporting its head. Its long black hair was hanging down, and its posture appeared lazy. Its eyes were slightly open, gazing at the war-torn blood shadow. The collision of two opposing figures and endless power twisted the starry space, causing black holes to form and devour everything around them in the depths of the endless universe. The center of chaos, the legendary core of the universe, is an unnamed place. A golden light suddenly appeared in chaos, breaking through the constraints of the core land and leaving at a speed invisible to ordinary spirits whether intentionally or unintentionally. The direction flying in this endless world is where those two opposing figures are located. The golden light flashed between the two figures, emitting a light that seemed to suppress the two opposing lights for an instant, but it dissipated in an instant and seemed to have never appeared. In an instant, the confrontation between the two figures came to a slight halt, and then they coincidentally looked towards the direction where the golden light disappeared, as if they had seen through the entire world at a glance. Then the two figures took a step and crossed the space to chase after each other. The edge of the world. A crack suddenly appeared in the space, and the beam of golden light flashed into the crack. The crack quickly closed and disappeared. The spatial fluctuations revealed two figures, which were the red and blue figures facing each other. As the golden light retreated into the closed crack, the blood-colored figure raised its hand and waved, causing the space to crack open again. However, what appeared was no longer a black hole, but the appearance of a universe through the crack. Oh! A small universe attached to the world. Looking at the scene in the crack, two terrifying divine thoughts emerged from the body and surged towards the crack, as if scanning the universe to find the escaping golden light. At the moment of the influx of divine thoughts, the cosmic bulge in the crack quickly enveloped and covered the universe, and a transparent barrier stood up, isolating and rebounding the exploring deities. The two figures were both stunned, and the bloody figure lifted its long sword and swung it towards the barrier in the crack. The long sword collided with the transparent barrier and was directly bounced open, causing the blood-colored figure holding the sword to take a few steps backwards. Interestingly, we are already the strongest in this world. This small universe can be destroyed by lifting our hands, but this attached small universe can actually block me. Without any lip movement, the sound sounded like thunder in the starry sky. The blue figure stepped out of the distance and approached the barrier, slowly raising its hand to probe towards it. It saw its hand pass through the barrier without any obstacles. The blue figure sensed the hand passing through the barrier, wanting to concentrate and directly dispel the fog inside the barrier, but found that it could not be mobilized. The blue figure tried to slowly retract its arm, but found it unobstructed and pulled it back. "It seems like you want us to enter," said the blue figure interestingly. "Is it not to enter? If someone wants us to go in, then let's go in. Since we have become the strongest in this world, we can no longer see the way forward, which is very boring. I just hope this trip won't disappoint me." The two figures exchanged a glance and disappeared in a blink of an eye in the starry sky, returning once again to the loneliness and darkness. The universe's starry sky is quiet and timeless. After an unknown amount of time, several figures suddenly appeared floating in the starry sky outside the crack, led by the red and blue figures. "Ladies and gentlemen, everything is unknown here, so be careful. Once it has been decided, there is no way out, no need to say much. As a member of our tribe, follow me forward. We pledge to follow to the death." I saw the blood-colored figure pass through the barrier first, followed closely by a group of people behind. Let's go in too. Deleting. The blue figure took the lead, and several figures behind followed through the barrier. Within the barrier. As the last figure drifted into the mist, a sound sounded in the minds of each figure. "Welcome to the Xianhuang universe, the ancestral star has been opened." As the words fell, everyone's figures seemed to be imprisoned in mist, their faces full of ferocity, their bodies trembling and struggling to break free, but ultimately they were powerless. After an unknown amount of time, everyone's faces returned to calm, their eyes closed, and their bodies remained motionless as if lifeless, floating in the mist. After a while, the figures disappeared without any trace into the mist, leaving no trace. "Oh no, everyone is cool, it's the end of the show." The cracks that connected the universe in the universe completely closed and disappeared, the barriers disappeared, and the fog slowly dissipated, revealing this small universe once again. Realm. Fan. Training, skin and meat, forging, muscles and bones, replacing, organs and blood, extraordinary. Collecting yuan, exchange body, and soul, level touching the way. Palm heaven touching the way to understand the void, level Dideo. Only I truly and emptily transcend the realm of enlightenment and enlightenment. The four major realms mentioned earlier are a bit impressive, but they are not very useful anyway. It's tiring to distinguish what to do so clearly. Passionate and passionate, urban war god, layout full text, imaginative reasoning, invincible whole book. I'm sorry, none of them. My writing style is limited, I can't write exciting stories, time is limited, leave a story in this world as if I have come before, I hope I won't be forgotten, even if only one person has a slight impression of my name. When I go to the underworld, I will mention your achievements to the CEO. Blessing you. Setting. The volume and area of the ancestral star are 100 times larger than that of Earth, and all organisms born from the ancestral star will naturally adapt to the ancestral environment. Chapter 2. Illusion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Xianhuang Universe in the Milky Way Galaxy. In an inconspicuous stellar system, one of the planets is surrounded by a vast expanse of ocean, which covers nearly 70% of its area, making it look like a round sapphire with a green hue in the middle. The mainland has towering trees and lush vegetation, with plants over 100 zhang tall and lush with vitality. Hundreds of giant beasts can be seen walking everywhere on the earth, leaving behind huge footprints, searching for the freshest vegetation to eat. Even more ferocious beasts feed on them, and battles can be seen everywhere. Small-bodied individuals may hide in trees or dig holes beneath the earth, looking up at the breathing of giant beasts to survive. There are also giant beasts spreading their wings and flying in the sky, overlooking the earth. In the ocean, there are sometimes huge black shadows flashing, and sometimes they leap up and briefly display their majestic posture in the air. Full of vitality. On this day, a little black curtain appeared in the clear sky, slowly expanding and covering the sky. Even the sun was blocked, and the earth shrouded in pure darkness. The creatures on the planet gaze at the expanding darkness, and the earth shrouded in darkness becomes wider and wider. They instinctively resist and flee away. But many close ones didn't have time to react and escape. I saw the creatures slowly turning black, as if merging with the darkness and colliding everywhere in the darkness. However, they could not escape from the darkness. Every time they reached the edge of darkness, they wanted to escape, but were blocked by an invisible barrier. Gradually, the creatures shrouded in darkness quieted down, as if they had adapted to the darkness. Their eyes became more agile, and their actions seemed to have a sequence that gave birth to wisdom. In the shrouded land, vegetation almost withers and dissipates, the earth is dyed black, and a few plants mutate to prey on creatures trapped in darkness. The shrouded ocean has turned into a black sea, with endless creatures blackening out. Time has passed, and nearly half of the ocean and land on this planet are shrouded in darkness. From the starry sky, a black curtain envelopes half of the planet. Vegetation disappears in the darkness, and creatures become bloodthirsty, causing slaughter to erupt. In the blue planet, a figure appeared out of thin air in half of the azure sky. The figure was dressed in light blue armor, wearing a blue and white forehead crown, with long black hair falling on the waist, and a pitch-black sickle hanging behind him. Its appearance resembled that of a celestial being with bright eyes as bright as the blazing sun. Since the appearance of this figure, a soft light emanates, suppressing the dark curtain and preventing it from expanding any further. "You shouldn't have come here," the figure said slowly, looking towards the center of the darkness after looking at the killings in the darkness. "Interesting, I didn't expect someone like you to exist on this planet." A figure emerged from the darkness, and an excited voice came out. "In this universe, I can no longer see the way forward. I want to enter my realm with this universe and use the power of the entire universe to open up a new path for me." This figure was dressed in blood armor, with blood hair scattered freely. There was a silver-white long sword hanging from his waist, and his face was firm and handsome, with a wild and joyful expression. He stared closely at the blue figure. From the blue figure appearing without a trace from the sky, emitting a light that faintly suppresses his innate realm, he knew that this person was his path of pursuing the unknown. "My realm has given these savage beasts spiritual intelligence, enabling them to evolve. When living beings have wisdom under my command, order will naturally emerge, slaughter will decrease, and this planet will be even better." The voice of the blood shadow echoed through the sky. Bloody evolution. Living beings already have their own path of evolution, so why do they need external intervention? And maintaining the natural evolution of this planet seems to be my mission. The blue figure hesitated slightly in her words. This planet has never lacked killings, but now these killings have become inevitable in the path of evolution I have given. On the path of evolution, rulers will inevitably emerge, causing endless slaughter. Why can't I rule earlier, and there will be even fewer killings? The blood-colored figure seemed to say with a hint of surprise. "I don't care who will rule this planet, but your rule will disrupt the natural rules of this planet." "The sky told me it doesn't like you," said the blue figure calmly. "The extinction and slaughter of the natural survival laws of living beings is not an excuse for you to create brutal killings." The blue figure shook its head. You have a mission to uphold the rules of natural evolution, but how do you know that my arrival and rule over this planet are not inevitable? Why do you insist on blocking me? The blood-colored figure joked. I don't know if your arrival is the natural evolution that this planet should bear, but I know that preventing you is the natural choice. The blue figure slowly spoke. It seems that we can only be opponents, said the blood-colored figure. My name is Darkyu, the leader of the Dark Clan. I think I have the right to know your name. The guardian of heaven, the sky is blue, said the sky blue calmly. Blue sky. Good name, I also like the color of this sky. Unfortunately, where I am, there can only be darkness, and I cannot control it. Darkyu said with a hint of regret, are you the only one? That won't stop me. I have 108 Dark Clan members and a large army of creatures in my dark realm. Come out, let me cover this planet with the realm. Darkyu turned his head and glanced at the darkness. A group of figures appeared in the dark, with 108 leading figures dressed in uniform black armor, of varying heights, wielding various weapons, with cheeks and skin resembling a pathological white, black hair, black eyes, and black pupils. Behind him is an endless army of transformed creatures. The crowd stood behind the Darkyu, with a majestic momentum pressing towards the slender figure. I'll take orders. The deafening sound echoed through the sky. Wake up, follow your mission, and uphold the rules of nature. The blue sky seemed unaffected, whispering softly, but the voice covered the earth-shattering sound that spread throughout the planet. In the land of the Arctic glacier, an ice peak collapsed, revealing a transparent ice coffin. A stunning woman lay still in it, dressed in water blue armor, with silver hair flowing down. Her eyes moved slightly and slowly opened, and the ice coffin turned into ice powder and dissipated. The figure suspended in the air, looking excitedly towards the blue direction of the sky. She crossed the space and reached the thin figure, then flew in that direction. In the far south, a volcanic island, a fiery red figure flies out from the magma. A figure emitting white light suddenly appeared at an inconspicuous mine entrance in the west. In a dense forest, 1,000 zhang ancient tree stands out, slowly disappearing into a green figure. A towering mountain rises from the ground in a plain in the center of the continent, and a brown figure emerges from the rubble. These four figures all briefly took a moment to escape towards the blue direction of the sky. In the starry sky, 2 meteorites transformed into clusters of light and fell straight towards the blue planet. Chapter 3. Innocence. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The silver-haired woman arrived first and naturally stood behind the left side of Sky Blue. After glancing at the army in the Dark Realm, she shifted her gaze to Sky Blue. As the silver-haired woman arrived, the other four figures also rushed forward and backward, standing side by side with the silver-haired woman in the air, their eyes fixed on the darkness in front of them. At this moment, a cluster of light flying from the starry sky collided directly with the black curtain that enveloped the planet, causing the visible black curtain to tremble slightly. After discovering the darkness, the two light clusters turned into two figures, a man and a woman, and flew towards the blue sky behind them. Oh! This planet is really special, it can give birth to you and others. Darkyu looked at the 7 people who appeared, all of whom were the pinnacle of this universe, and was a bit surprised. Are you also the guardians of this planet? Guarding the 5 elements. Gung Jin Jian Mu Gui Shui Wu Tu Zhu Hua, Yin Yang Guardian. Yang Ming Huayin, then follow these natural laws. And you said with some regret but more excitement, I have been invincible since my birth. I hope you will not disappoint me. After finishing speaking, Darkyu swung his sword first and slashed towards Sky Blue. In an instant, his body transformed into a shadow and he was close. Behind Sky Blue, a huge sickle floated in front of him. The huge sickle blade blocked the piercing tip of the sword, and Darkyu swung his sword sideways with his back hand. Sky Blue quickly grasped the sickle handle and waved it to block it. The shock generated by the collision between the two people shattered the surrounding space, causing a major earthquake to collapse. The 7 guardians close to their bodies were knocked away before they could react. "Don't get close, I'll deal with Dark You. You go stop the expansion of the Dark Realm," said the sky in a deep blue voice. All right, you are indeed qualified to be my opponent." The Dark Clan obeyed the order and made every effort to expand the realm, integrating this star into the realm. The Dark You also gave the order. "Okay. Be careful. Take orders." The 7 guardians faced the endless dark creatures led by 108 people in the dark curtain that covers the sky. "Let's form in formation," said the 7 guardians in unison as they faced the endless dark creatures. I saw Yang Ming and Huayin guardians in the middle, communicating the power of yin and yang in the world. The other 5 guardians occupied the 5 directions, communicating the 5 elements of heaven and earth, complementing each other and constantly growing. Later, they converged and intersected with the power of yin and yang, and the natural forces constantly generated and changed around the body, whether it was a storm or a scorching sun, or a landslide. Snowy regions continuously emerging. "Charge!" The first 8 members of the Dark Clan ordered. The originally scattered dark creatures in the darkness charged towards the outside without fear of death, with a deafening force. The collision between the army and the formation resulted in the disappearance and annihilation of countless creatures in the natural power illusion of the formation's evolution. This is ultimately a world of infinite personal power. The level of dark creatures in the dark is too low, how can it affect the guardian located at the top of this universe? But there are too many dark creatures, not to mention the intervention of the 108 dark clans. They are always lucky enough to break out of the formation and kill the planet creatures outside the dark curtain. Although the planet creatures are large in size, they are only ordinary spirits without wisdom. The dark creatures have already enlightened and entered the practice, killing one side. Seeing it difficult to break through from the front, the Dark Clan recalled the dark creatures. I saw that half of the Dark Clan wanted to hold down 7 guardians, while the other half wanted to bypass the main formation and expand the Dark Realm. We have already done what we can, and the rest is the test of the creatures on this planet. Yang Ming looked behind him, the formation has become a constraint, and we must block the expansion of the realm. Let's resist separately. The formation dissipated, and the 5 guardians of the 5 elements left separately to block the scattered Dark Clan. The yin and yang energy released by the combined formation of the yin and yang guardians blocked the other half of the Dark Clan who wanted to besiege, using the power of the formation to traverse between these nearly half of the Dark Clan. The 5 guardians of the 5 elements roamed through their own territories, either in the icy world or in the blazing flames of the heavens. Countless creatures from the Dark Realm were annihilated, until the Dark Race could not resist turning around and blocking them. The Dark Clan has followed the Dark You and traversed the unknown through endless battles. Each position is at the top of the universe, and the realm level is almost the same as that of the Guardian. And each Guardian is invincible in their field of cultivation, with unparalleled combat power. One person can support several people on their own, even though the Dark Clan has 108 people, they are helpless for a moment. The situation is deadlocked. And on the battlefield where no one dared to approach, only the blue sky moved the power of the sky, and the endless thunder and wind chopped towards the Dark You, even causing meteorites in the starry sky to fall towards the Dark You. The dark curtain of the Dark You festival blocked the thunderous wind, and with one sword, it split open the meteorite that hit it and swiftly slashed towards the blue sky amidst endless battles and killings. As the sun rises and the moon sets, it is already a month in the blink of an eye. The endless battles make people tired, and also accelerate the evolution of creatures. With the development of wisdom, only a few dark creatures can break through the defenses of the Guardians. The creatures begin to cooperate and fight back. From the starry sky, the continents on the planet were riddled with cracks, but by now no one was paying attention, and the fighting was relentless. Finally, In the aftermath of another collision between the blue sky and the dark jade, this continent could no longer withstand being divided into 6 parts. The massive force scattered several pieces of land, and many small mountains floated into islands. Earthquakes overturn and volcanoes erupt everywhere, causing tidal waves and flooding of continents. The movement of the shattered continent awakened everyone, and as they watched the scattered land, the two sides finally paused their struggle. As the guardian of the planet, I never want to see it affected at all. And what Dark You needs is also a complete planet that integrates into the realm, assimilating creatures, so that he can look at the unknown with a peak posture. After a great battle, even the guardians were exhausted with unparalleled combat power, and the creatures of the Dark Realm were scattered throughout the realm. The 108 dark clans were also covered in scars. The power of communication, combined with my own body. Sky Blue looked at the shattered earth, burying creatures, and said to the 7 guardians. But the silver-haired guardian seemed a little anxious. As guardians, it is our responsibility to maintain the integrity and natural evolution of the planet. If we continue to fight for the extinction of life and the destruction of the planet, we are unworthy of the title of guardians. Sky Blue interrupted before waiting for the silver-haired guardian to speak. Yes. Dark You, I have a copy. If you can take it, I won't be able to stop you anymore. The Sky Blue looked at Dark You. Then let's fight. And Yu's face was solemn, knowing that it was time to end. I saw the power of the sky flowing through the blue channel of the sky, and the power of the sky surged wildly into my body. The 7 guardians also communicated with the power of the sky towards the blue. At this moment, the power of heaven and earth was added, and my momentum reached its peak. The remnants of the power shook the stars in the sky and shifted. The figure of Dark You flashed into the darkness, and the Dark Clan also guarded all sides of the darkness. Within the Dark Realm, waves of airflow formed by extreme dark compression surged wildly towards the center. The forbidden city of heaven and earth. Sky Blue waved his hand, and the power of heaven and earth formed a cage that enveloped and compressed the dark curtain, as if trying to crush it. At the center of the Dark Realm, the Dark You hooks up with the realm to bear the grinding of the power of heaven and earth alone, and the loud roar shakes the stars. The Dark Clan forms an array around the Dark You to resist the compression of the boundary. Time slowly passes, and the boundaries crushed by the power of heaven and earth become smaller and smaller. Alas, can't we still do it? Blue Sky sighed helplessly. The sigh reached the ears of the 7 guardians, and their expressions changed, as if they knew nothing about the next outcome. Suddenly, the silver-haired guardian summoned the power of water beyond its limits, carrying the purest elemental power and heading towards the blue sky. Alas, why are you? Sky Blue said helplessly as he looked at the sudden change. I know your plan, don't try to leave me behind. The silver-haired guardian pouted. Open. Heaven and earth are sealed off. I saw the blue sky wielding its sickle and cutting a crack in space, driving the dark realm into the crack and sealing it with its own power to carry heaven and earth. The darkness that covers the planet eventually fades away, and living beings welcome light, with sunlight falling on the earth. Surviving beings listen, external forces have disrupted the evolution of nature, gave birth to wisdom, and brought unnecessary slaughter. I don't know if this is good or bad. Although darkness has receded, it will eventually make a comeback, and the future will depend on your own choices. This is your world. Now, I pass down the method of cultivation. Forging the body and absorbing the elements. The blue voice of the sky carries the power of heaven and earth and echoes through the minds of all living beings. After the blue sky's words were spoken, they exchanged a smile with the silver-haired guardian and then turned their gaze to the other guardians. Goodbye everyone. Let me leave something for this world in the end. The blue sky and the body guarded by silver hair transformed into stars, scattered in this world. The power of elements in heaven and earth surged wildly, flooding the world, and heavy rain washed away the living earth. When I was born, nature nurtured me. When I die, I return to nature. The figure dissipated, 2 sets of blue armor, a black sickle, and a silver spear suspended in the air, shaking incessantly, as if in a mournful cry, finally breaking through the air and disappearing without a trace. How can the body bear and call upon the power of heaven and earth? Moreover, overloading is the only result that can dissipate in the world. The same goes for carrying the power of transforming elements of authority with one's body. Alas! The remaining 6 guardians only sighed and finally returned to their respective places of power communication to rest and rest. After the war, the planet fell into a brief period of peace and then entered a path of rapid evolution. The inheritance of cultivation methods led living beings into a path of transcendence. Some continued to maintain their body shape advantage as they grew larger, while others specialized in speed for hunting. The path of evolution is full of strange and strong, and those who are always strong remain strong. There are weak individuals who lack physical strength and focus on intelligence. They evolve their bodies towards the form of guardians they have seen before, and gradually discover that this form of cultivation is like a divine assistance, forming a group that quickly occupies a side with weak combat strength. It is called human. Chapter 4. Handsome. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xizhen at the end of the Ninth Age in 1972 Hunan Province, China. A yellow mud road that was only a few meters wide was paved with some crushed sand on the surface, leading to the mountains. Walking along the way, it was winding and winding. After only 6 miles, I first met someone, and as I walked deeper, more and more smoke emanated from their cooking. Most of them are wooden houses supported by several beams and columns, filled with wooden boards, covered with bark and painted with new paint, black red, black red. Inside, there are several houses made of blue bricks and covered with tiles, which appear to be wealthy families. In mid-October, when the rice had already been harvested and sun-dried, the weather was beautiful, the rainfall was abundant, and the harvest was bountiful. Farmers carrying grain and pushing carts on the road to grain delivery all wore smiles on their faces. The men collectively carry grain to hand in the last grain of this year, while the women take care of the fields at home, plant vegetables, and have food to eat when winter comes. They prepare dinner and wait for their men to come home. It was Sunday, and many children in the field were flipping through a pile of rice to catch loaches, hoping to add some meat dishes to their home. Some were also fishing for crabs by the stream and playing with the water. The older little girl is cutting grass and tying it into bundles. Those who have raised cows carry some back home to feed them, while those who have not raised cows carry them back to the rice fields to bury them for nutrients, hoping for a better harvest next year. Wild vegetables are fragrant, they are a great dish without any effort or cost. Older boys will go up the mountain to search for the tip of the sand tree. Carrying it home can allow adults to exchange some money to improve their meals. During the mature season, when encountering wild fruits on the road, they will climb trees to pick them and take them home to share with their younger siblings. There are 4 or 5 children under the age of 13 or 14 in a family of 7 or 8, and almost all the older ones have left their hometowns to work. Everyone believes that as long as there are more people and labor force, one can become rich and live a better life. On a small mountain path, from the sky, a bundle of large firewood was walking less than 3 feet above the ground. Upon closer inspection, a child walked on their shoulders. The firewood was too large and wide, completely covering the child. This bundle of firewood should not be something that a child could carry, even adults may not be able to carry it so far. Slowly, the child walked into the village carrying firewood and said, "Aunt Hua, I have put the firewood in the shed for you." "Oh my God, let's put it there. Come to my place for dinner tonight. After dinner, let's go see a movie with my few kids. Tonight, there are people from the town coming to show the movie." A slightly muscular figure emerged from the wooden room and said to the child in a large floral robe, "Okay, Aunt, I'll go back to the mountains and carry a bundle of firewood." "Then you have to be careful, there are still snakes in the mountains at this time," said Aunt Hua. Such a small person with such great strength, sensible and handsome, why isn't he from my family, muttered as he watched the little figure leave. This child's name is Wanhuantian, and the villagers call him Xiaotian. Wearing worn-out single clothes and shorts, with slightly short black hair, although still small, her face is handsome and delicate, and she doesn't look like a mortal. The village chief grandfather told him that he was picked up by the strong uncle at the village entrance. At that time, he was around 5 or 6 years old, lying naked on the roadside at the village entrance. The strong uncle took him to the village chief grandfather's house, and the village chief grandfather put on the old clothes worn by his grandson. Later on, he woke up and saw a group of onlookers, uncles and aunties. He didn't remember anything from before, and the village chief grandfather took him to the police station to file a case. Because he didn't know anything, it was too difficult to find someone, so he had to bring it back to the village. When asked about his name, the 3 characters Wanhuantian came to mind and became his name. There are basically 7 or 8 people in the village, and they don't have enough to live on their own, so they naturally cannot be taken in. Wanhuantian was temporarily arranged to a temple not far from the village. The village chief also gave an old cotton quilt, and the villagers gave some worn-out clothes and some rare food that their children had changed into. The villagers were very enthusiastic about the appearance of a handsome child in the village, especially after discovering that the child was naturally strong, sensible, and hardworking. They even wanted to adopt him, but in the end, it seemed that Wanhuantian did not agree. Later on, Wanhuantian relied on working for the villagers to help exchange some food, and also rubbed around, picking up some in the mountains, so his life was relatively decent. Winter is approaching, and I have to save some firewood and work hard to exchange rice with my uncles for winter food, Wanhuantian muttered as he walked along the path. I've been here for 2.5 years now, and I'm already 8 years old. I have a movie to watch tonight, and I'm not sure if it's Neja's Adventures in the Sea, or Taking Tiger Mountain Wisely. Because I've forgotten everything, I might as well consider the day I woke up as my birthday. If it looks like I'm 6 years old, then let's just be 6 years old. The north wind blows the snowflakes float. The red star shines brightly, the red star warms the chest. The 5-star red flag flutters in the wind, and the song of victory is so loud. Wanhuantian jumped and hummed, noticing that he was quite happy. Don't worry too much about the specific time of these, anyway I can't remember the exact time too clearly. Realm of departed spirits. A golden dragon was soaring in the air, with 5 claws and a crimson phoenix fighting against it. Its eyes turned red, and the space was shattered into a small black hole. The gravitational force it emitted instantly sucked in and engulfed the surrounding vegetation for 10 miles. The movement woke up the dragon and phoenix, and they hurriedly repaired the crack. It's close, almost caught a cold. The 2 beasts repaired the crack and without hesitation, split up and ran away. Xizhen, a spatial crack suddenly appeared next to Wanhuantian, and he swallowed it before disappearing in an instant. Movies are impossible to watch anymore. The small hills at night are filled with the light of torches and flashlights, and the shouting of "Little Heaven" resounds loudly. Chapter 5. Title: You are listening at novelfull.audio. A rocky mountain cliff is covered with green vines, covered by large green leaves. The bottom is open for one person to pass through, and inside is a cave formed within the mountain, which is about 10 feet high and several zhang wide, leading to the nearby area. Due to the entrance of the cave being blocked by vine leaves, it is pitch black with no sunlight inside. There is a stone bed in the middle, on which is placed an egg with a slight red halo and a little person. The egg was covered in red scales, about the size of an adult's head, and with the flicker of the egg, there were small red dots floating towards the egg in the air and merging into it. The little man lay with his forehead resting on the egg and his body lying down, breathing weakly. His eyes closed tightly as if he were unconscious. Upon closer inspection, it was the disappearing little Wanhuantian. When Huantian's forehead was scratched by the scales on the egg, and drops of blood dripped onto the egg. The blood seeped into the egg through the cracks between the scales and was absorbed by the egg. The light emitted by the egg became brighter and brighter. After an unknown amount of time, a slight hissing sounded. When Huantian slowly opened his eyes and sat up to observe the surroundings. Through the slightly red light, he could see that when Huantian's face was pale, with too much ischemia, and there were still small drops of blood on his forehead. Hiss. It hurts a bit. When Huantian touched his forehead and looked at the bloodstains on his hand. Where is this? How am I here? Looking around at the pitch-black surroundings and the glowing egg, when Huantian fell into memories. I was on my way to cut firewood on the mountain when suddenly a hole appeared next to me and I fell in. When Huantian was a bit unsure. How could a hole suddenly appear? I fell into a cave now. Looking up at the pitch-black sky, I looked up at my head. There's no light, isn't there? Where did I fall in from? I was a bit puzzled. Unable to think about it, when Huantian first focused his attention on the egg. Eggs. Can they glow? There are scales. What is this thing? When Huantian's mind was filled with questions. Forget it, I don't know how to get out. Let's keep it as food and see if we can find a way out. I didn't know what the egg was, so I decided not to think about it. Upon hearing this murmur, the egg trembled invisibly, and its flickering frequency increased slightly. However, when Huantian didn't notice it. Now he is looking around. Turning in a different direction, there seemed to be some white spots that stood out in the pitch-black cave. Although they looked quite close, they still couldn't reach the light emitted by the egg. As a last resort, they picked up the egg and walked towards the white spot together. After walking for about 300 to 400 steps, I finally could touch it. As I approached, under the egg light, it turned out to be rattan vines and leaves. The white dots were the light blocked by the leaves, surrounded by stone walls, and I really fell into a cave. I pulled out the firewood knife from behind and swung it towards the vine. The vine was as thick as my own, with several of them blocking the entrance. If it weren't for the vine leaves growing all over, I would have thought it was a tree, but fortunately, the vine was not very strong and could still be cut off. After a while, I finally cleared the small hole that allowed me to pass through and walked out. This. Where is this? When Huantian looked at this place and was very certain that it was not the planet he lived on. After all, the trees on that planet are only about 10 zhang tall, and the animals are not too big. Here. When you look at the low trees, they all soar straight into the sky. It's possible that they might be as tall as 100 or 80 feet, and even the highest ones have rushed into the clouds. A bird must be as big as the mountain top of the world it lives in when it flies. In the eyes of this bird, it may be like an ant. When Huantian felt a bit depressed and quickly ran back into the cave, holding the egg and walking back onto the slate bed. The opening of the cave opened up a bit, and some sunlight came in. Finally, the cave was no longer so dark. When Huantian sat dumbfounded on the slate bed. In this world, I don't know if there is anyone, and I don't even know where to get my food. He's just an 18-year-old child, how can he survive? Thinking about it, I looked at the glowing egg again. It was the only thing I could eat now, and it had to be used as a light at night. I don't know if it would still light up after breaking it and eating the shell. After thinking about it for a while, I decided to go out and take a look. After all, if you want to live, it's necessary to go out and find something to eat. I'm sure even such a big bird wouldn't appreciate this bit of ant meat. Slowly moving out of the cave, my eyes looked around. Big, really big, the creatures and plants here are too big. Thoroughly walking out of the cave, looking back, I realized that it was a rocky mountain covered in vines, and the vines even had some red and purple fruits the size of their heads hanging. Watching a fly about his size crawling on the vine and sucking on something, when Huantian felt it was better to return to the cave. Slowly moving towards the cave entrance, I picked 2 fruits from vines around the entrance and quickly climbed into the cave. I picked up the cut vines and blocked the entrance sitting back on the slate, when Wantian looked at these 2 fruits and didn't know if they should be eaten. At first glance, the color was not serious, it was still so big. The final decision is that I'm not too hungry yet. I'll wait until I can't bear it anymore. It seems like there was a lot of blood flowing from the front, and I did some physical work again. Now my body is soft. I'm lying on the slate and slowly sleeping with my eyes closed. Chapter 6. This East. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Goo 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 goo, the sound of stomach bells rang in the quiet cave. When Huantian woke up and sat up, looking at the direction of the entrance where the white light had disappeared, knowing that it was already evening. I'm too hungry. I feel like I'm going to run out of food if I don't eat anything more. When Huantian looked at the 2 fruits and fell into a battle in his mind, feeling that they were poisonous and couldn't be eaten. Finally, when Huantian's eyes became firm, and he couldn't starve to death as a person. He died so miserably. Then he picked up the glowing egg and wanted to smash it towards the slate. Joke, if you have eggs, don't eat those unfamiliar fruits. Who knows if you can still see tomorrow's sun after eating the red and purple one. Sensing when Huantian's movements, the egg started to move violently. When Huantian also realized something was wrong and wanted to let go of the egg, but it was tightly sucked in by the egg. The frequency of egg flashing is getting faster and brighter, and countless red light spots emerge in the surrounding space, drifting towards when Huantian and the egg, blending into their bodies. Finally, the eggshell cracked a crack. Dog. Is a dog born from an egg? When Huantian looked at the thing that had widened the crack and drilled out of his arms, finally able to put the egg down. I saw this creature with 2 flesh buns on its head, a deep blue face, bright and lively eyes, short whiskers and fangs at the corners of its mouth, covered in hair on its neck, covered in blue scales, hooves like cows, long tail, and a small one standing up unable to reach when Huantian's thighs. Qi Lin, I am Qilin. A voice rang out from when Huantian's mind. Who's talking? When Huantian nervously turned his head and looked around. It's me. Another voice rang from when Huantian's mind. At this moment, the genius Wen Huan realized that no one was speaking around, and the sound was directly in his mind. Then he turned his gaze to the thing that had just crawled out of the egg and was eating the eggshell. Is that you? Yes. It's me. His voice was somewhat intermittent, as if he wasn't very proficient. I saw the little thing lift its head but didn't speak, and then bury its head in the dry eggshell. How can you speak in my mind? When Huantian was puzzled. I don't know, and this is not talking, it's the idea I want you to know. The little Qilin looked up and pondered. Ideas. When Huantian pondered and felt it. Can you hear it? A voice rang out from Qilin's mind. Can. When Huantian feels a bit amused. Why can we hear each other's thoughts? When Huantian continued to try. It seems that our destinies are connected together. You and I will grow up too. Little Qilin said with some uncertainty. When Huantian felt it carefully, as if he could feel the existence of this little Qilin no matter where he was, inseparable from it. While when Huantian was busy researching, Qilin had already finished the eggshell. Suddenly, when Huantian's body became increasingly red, and he instantly shrank into a ball, holding his head in both hands as if enduring immense pain. It seems that the red light spots that have just integrated into the body have finally burst out. The little Qilin nervously circles around when Huantian, and it can also sense a little of the pain that when Huantian is enduring. When Huantian only felt that his body was about to melt, and an inexplicable cultivation method appeared in his mind, which almost exploded his mind. The body seemed to be subconsciously operating the cultivation method, and colorful dots of light poured in towards when Huantian. Little Qilin saw when Huantian gradually quiet down and fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 7. Xizhen. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A subtle beam of sunlight shone through the vine leaves into the cave. When Huantian slowly opened his eyes and saw the little Qilin lying on his chest, sleeping soundly. I closed my eyes again and fell into a moment of recollection. Last night, my body suddenly became hot, and then a cultivation method appeared in my mind out of thin air. My mind was about to burst, and now it still hurts faintly. He has never read a book, nor can he recognize words, but he seems to be very familiar with all the cultivation methods that appear in this text. Practice Dharma name. Heaven everlasting changes organizing the sudden emergence of knowledge and feeling the state of the body, I finally have an understanding of these transcendent cognition. The sudden appearance of the whole is a space crack, and I am really unlucky to have a chance to encounter it. This little Qilin and himself should have made a contract under unknown circumstances, never giving up, regardless of poverty or wealth, health or illness. Cough, that's a mistake. And yesterday, I incorporated elements into my body and completely forged it with the power of elements. Now, according to the cultivation method, I am at an extraordinary level of transformation, and I can continue to use the power of elements to continuously refine my body and make it stronger in the future. I'm so scared that I'm a pig's foot. It's reasonable to jump to his great realm when practicing. Cultivation realm. Any extraordinary person who touches the Tao can achieve the Tao. Feeling the changes in my body, I always feel like I have inexhaustible strength, and I don't know how much I have become stronger, whether I can beat the animals outside with one hand. He picked up the Qilin lying on his body, stood up, and looked around. He found that he could see clearly around the pitch-black cave, and his cultivation was truly magical. I saw that the walls around the cave were as smooth as if they had been cut, and there were also extinguished torches around, but dust was already scattered. There were several already extinguished bonfires underground, leaving only some carbon fragments. There was also a 10-foot wide stone bed next to me in the middle, which should have been inhabited by someone. There were still quite a few people around, but it should have been a long, long time. Finally, he withdrew his gaze and held the Qilin in front of him. Since we are already connected by fate and cannot be separated, you will become my younger brother in the future. My name is Wen Huantian, and you are Wen Huanlin. How about that? Wen Huantian looked at the Qilin with a little ding-ding and wondered how long he would live here in the future. With a living creature accompanying him, he finally wouldn't be too lonely. Okay, my name is Wen Huanlin. The idea conveyed to his mind, and Wen Huantian knew that little Qilin had agreed and let go of Qilin. Well, since you agree, then from now on you will be called Wen Huanlin by your big name and Guzi by your nickname. From now on, you will call me handsome and I will call you Guzi. Wen Huantian looked at Wen Huanlin and agreed with satisfaction. What? What's wrong, dog? It's okay, dog. Goo, suddenly, there was a sound. Wen Huantian is hungry again. Although he has become extraordinary, he can only use the power of elements and cannot convert it into energy. Things still need to be eaten. If you don't need to eat anything, you need to reach the Tao realm, and then you can convert elements into other things. Turning his head to Wen Huanlin, he saw the little Qilin shrink its head and retreat back. I think he was scared when he was still an egg. Looking at Wen Huanlin, who was a bit scared, he said, I won't eat you anymore, don't be afraid. He then looked at the two fruits by the bed and said, Are you hungry? Come, I have some fruit here, share it with you, come and eat. Wen Huantian smiled and looked at Wen Huanlin. He took the fruit and stuffed it into Wen Huanlin's mouth, thinking to himself, at least he's a divine beast. Eating a fruit shouldn't kill him. If it's really gone, then we can only mourn. Watching Wen Huanlin eat the fruit, it still bounced around after a while, and Wen Huantian also ate the fruit. Although not full, the stomach still doesn't ring in the end. Turning his gaze to the stone bed again, he grabbed the edge of the bed with one hand and exerted a slight force. Surprisingly, the 3-foot-high, 10-foot-wide, and 10-foot-long square stone bed was lifted flat. It's a bit impressive. Wen Huantian was surprised. Putting down the stone bed and lying down, I closed my eyes and thought about the cultivation method, which contains the use of elemental power and attack and kill techniques. I decided to try to practice it, and once it's done, I'll go fight birds and eat meat. Recently, I'll just use the fruit cushion outside the hole. Soon, he slowly opened his eyes and sat up. Heavenly array. I saw Wanhuantian lifting slightly with one hand, a white aperture with complex patterns appearing out of thin air. Fire, a cluster of flames burst out from above the aperture, illuminating the entire cave. Looking at the sudden flame, Wanhuanlin looked at Wanhuantian with a bewildered expression on his face. Gu, I still miscalculated. Guzi is a divine beast and he is a human being. Just because Guzi is okay after eating doesn't mean he's okay. Chapter 8. Difficult to think of. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The Qilin, which stands at a height of 178 zhang and has double horns and a neck covered in fluff, runs through the forest with a deep blue color. Wherever it passes, animals and birds run away. A person standing steadily on top of his head, over 5 feet tall, with a head of blue and ink long hair swaying in the wind, covered in animal skin, and resembling a celestial figure. It is Wanhuantian and Wanhuanlin who have been here for 8 years, at the age of 16, in their prime. In these 8 years, after experiencing the joy of cultivation, there have been endless battles and practices, conquering this land of thousands of miles and reaching the pinnacle of transcendence. Originally, the growth of the Qilin was slow, but after being connected to the fate of Wanhuantian, one side became stronger and the other grew, and now it is also extraordinary. This world is too big, I haven't seen anyone's trace for thousands of miles. According to the extraordinary mirror giant beasts who have been subdued in recent years, this world is a spiritual realm, a world of beasts. They have never seen creatures like Wanhuantian, and as for other worlds, they have never heard of them. Big brother, I'm with you, said Wanhuanlin, feeling a bit disappointed in Wanhuantian. Beasts transcend the mundane and can speak as soon as they enter the extraordinary realm. It is said that this language was unified by the creators of the animal kingdom, but it is the same as the human language known to Wanhuantian. Wanhuantian knew at that time that there must be some connection between this place and Xizhen. If he couldn't find any news now, it must be because he wasn't strong enough. Since Wanhuanlin also entered the extraordinary realm, except for fighting, he spent the rest of his time communicating with Wanhuantian, which can be considered as relieving a bit of loneliness. Stop. Wanhuantian drank softly. A white figure flew towards the front, followed closely by a giant beast at an extremely fast speed. People. Wanhuantian exclaimed in surprise, his eyes shining. The white figure is a woman with silver hair and waist, wearing an ice crown and holding a long gun. She is wearing a white dress that has been stained red with blood, and her face is pale and in a very bad condition. Help me. The girl was startled when she saw the sudden appearance of the Qilin ahead, and then saw a young man standing above Qilin's head. She thought this person was extraordinary and shouted loudly at him. The aura emanating from that girl should be at the level of Na Yuan, who had just entered the extraordinary mirror and successfully incorporated elements into her body. She was injured and her breath was unstable. The giant beast chasing behind was exuding an extraordinary aura, and upon closer inspection, it was a jade white lion. Looking at the girl who collided with him, Wanhuantian hugged her with one hand. Upon closer inspection, the girl had already fainted and stopped the thought of waking up to inquire. He placed it flat on Wanhuanlin's head. Who is the senior? I am the blue jade lion under the command of the Void Beast King and the Decepticon Tiger. I came to capture the human at the behest of the Beast King. If this human is useless to the senior, I am willing to exchange it for a price. Looking at the sudden appearance of the Qilin and the figure standing on its head, the lion felt a bit ethereal. It was not one of those wild and extraordinary beasts, but had a background and some vision. The Qilin is a top clan in the spiritual realm, and there are several deities who can achieve enlightenment. Those who can step on the top of the Qilin's head are definitely experts. It should be noted that in order for beasts to transform into humans, they must have the realm of touching the Tao level and be able to transform elements into other forms to affect themselves. Qilin is so arrogant, how could he yield to the human race? Those who can step on Qilin's head are definitely the top leaders of the Qilin clan, and I am absolutely certain of the lion. If it weren't for the Beast King's order to bring it back, I would have run away long ago. How dare I speak up, this person, I want it. When Huantian looked at the lion respectfully and felt a bit confused. He had never encountered such a situation before, and it was difficult for him to take action. Yes, since the senior said yes, the junior will leave now. The Qingyu lion turned around and ran away, a bit faster than when chasing people. As for the Beast King's orders, just tell them truthfully. After all, when encountering such a big shot, I have no choice but to believe that the Beast King dare not say a word of no here. Watching the lion turn around and run away, when Huantian felt a little disappointed. Finally, he met a trainer and ran away. He was so respectful to himself that he didn't want to beat it for no reason. Forget it, there's something urgent. Looking at the girl above Wen Huanlin's head, there were claw wounds in front and behind her, and you could see her internal organs. It was very ferocious. If it weren't for encountering her, her body, which had just been forged without elements, would have been gone soon. Blood has seeped to the top of the Qilin's head. If it weren't for the excitement from the elder brother, he would have thrown her down and kicked her twice already. Go back. When Huanlin heard a quick adjustment of direction and rushed away at low altitude. When Huantian gently lifted the girl up, tore open some of the cracks on her skirt, exposed all the wounds, suppressed discomfort, and stimulated the remaining elemental power in her body to condense water droplets to clean the wound. After washing, she used her own elemental power to repair the cracked opening and stop bleeding. The wound is a bit too big, and the repair is a bit slow. I cracked from my chest to my belly button in front of me, and from my neck to my waist behind me. Chapter 9. Hey. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the cave, all the vines at the entrance have been cleaned up, and sunlight is shining in. Torches are lit on the walls, and animal skins are covered on the stone bed. On top of it lies a young girl covered in animal skins. Below, Wen Huantian and Wen Huanlin guard the fire and grill some unknown beast legs. Wen Huanlin has now shrunk to the size of Wen Huantian, as if it is its unique racial talent. It's quite useful, even when Huantian didn't ask it. Originally, as Wen Huanlin grew bigger and bigger, he had to find another place to live. The animal's legs were roasted, emitting oil and dripping onto the fire, making a sizzling sound. Barbecue still needs to be roasted with firewood to be fragrant, and the fire condensed with the power of elements has no such flavor. Wen Huantian flipped the barbecue and said. Wen Huanlin nodded wildly as he watched from the side. On the stone bed, the girl was already awake, but she didn't open her eyes and felt the movement around her quietly. After confirming that there was no danger for the time being, I slowly opened my eyes and lifted the animal skin off my body to find that my skirt had been taken off, leaving only the inner garment. The wound had healed, leaving only a faint trace of fans. Turning their gaze towards each person and beast, they found themselves with their backs to her, only focusing on barbecue and not caring about themselves. They quickly waved their hands and a black slit appeared in the space. After taking out a set of clothes, the slit disappeared. Quickly put on the clothes, then got out of bed and stood up. Wen Huantian had long known that the girl had woken up, but had stayed here for 8 years. Now he didn't know how to talk to people, let alone Wen Huanlin. He had already met Wen Huantian. Thank you for your help, senior. I, Meng Xiying, come from the dream family of Xingwa Kingdom and am a master of Qingsongshenchen. When I return home, I will inform the family to bring gifts and generous rewards. May I know the senior's name? The silver-haired girl Meng Xiying bowed respectfully to Wen Huantian. Watching each person and beast grilling, Meng Xiying felt that it was inappropriate to choose to seek help at the time, but at that time she was almost gone and couldn't care so much. Looking back now, most of the people who can ride the Qilin have high status in the Qilin clan. The one who can transform into a human is at least the Beast King who touches the Dao level. It's difficult to deal with him now. Upon hearing Meng Xiying's words, Wanhuantian was pleasantly surprised. It was indeed from Xizhen or Huagua, and he finally knew the way back. Although he only had 2 years of memory from Xizhen, it was ultimately a world suitable for human survival. He was really too lonely here. Turning around, I finally scrutinized the young girl named Meng Xiying carefully. Since rescuing her on that day, I haven't taken a good look at her. I remember the village chief's grandfather once said that men and women are not compatible, and that seeing a girl's body is responsible. This time, it's urgent to take power, so it's better to pretend not to know. Upon closer inspection of this young girl, she should be about the same age as herself, but she has a rare head of silver hair and blue and white pupils. I remember that among the people I have seen on Xizhen, they all have black hair and brown pupils. A pretty face was extremely handsome, with skin as milky white as yellow jade. Looking at her eyes, it seemed like she had seen a world of glaciers. Don't call me senior, my name is Wanhuantian. I think my age is not much different from yours, and I also come from Xingua Kingdom. Saving you is to know how to go back. Wanhuantian said casually. Meng Xiying couldn't react to the words spoken by the young man in animal skin in front of him. This young man is very handsome, with his long green and ink hair flowing freely. His blue pupils seem to fill the entire sky, and his face seems to be carved out, not like it should be in the world. At least she has never seen a man who is even more beautiful than the young man in front of her, but his animal skin is a bit cheap, which looks unsightly, but there's nothing she can do. She's a girl who doesn't have clothes to change for him, and even if she has clothes, she can't say for now. Are seniors also human? Are they from China? Meng Xiying asked with confusion. I don't look like a person. I suddenly fell from China 8 years ago and lived here before, so I did come from China. Wanhuantian was a bit puzzled, but still explained. No, I thought the senior was a beast king in the realm of touching the Tao who transformed into a human form, and it's really difficult to recognize the senior following the Qilin. Meng Xiying explained awkwardly, but she was quite happy because being a human and having no hostility towards her increased safety. I said we are about the same age, so there's no need to call me senior. Beasts can still transform into human form. And what is the relationship between identifying whether I am human and the Qilin? Wanhuantian is full of curiosity. He has been lonely for so long, with someone talking and having a topic to discuss. He feels like he can keep talking. Since that's the case, I'll call you Tiangu, Meng Xiying said as she saw Wanhuantian insisting that he didn't look like a scammer. Tiangu doesn't know. Giant beasts can transform into human beings when they reach the level of touching the Tao, and then they can freely switch between humans and beasts. Humans are more likely to feel the surrounding elements and understand nature, while giant beasts' bodies are suitable for combat. Therefore, almost all giant beasts will transform when they reach the level of touching the Tao. Mengxi hesitated for a moment and said, as for the Qilin, it is the top race in the spiritual realm. It is arrogant and can hardly be tamed. The only one who can ride it on top of their head can be the Qilin with a higher identity. So, I thought you were a transformed Qilin, Tiangu. But being able to tame a Qilin is really impressive. And I think this Qilin seems a bit like a different species within the Qilin. Its talent is definitely great. Meng Xiying envied. Spirit realm. Alien. What is this? Wanhuantian wanted to know everything, and seemed to understand why the lion in front had such a good attitude. What about the spiritual realm? It is said that there was no spiritual realm in the beginning. In the past, both giant beasts and humans lived on the ancestral planet, but later on, the human race grew rapidly and the ancestral planet's living space became insufficient. The two races began to struggle and became increasingly fierce. Until the third age, when a guardian stepped forward to dissuade them, it seemed like an agreement was reached. The powerful divine realm guardians from the two races' enlightenment combined with the guardians to open up space on the ancestral planet, destroying countless planets from the universe to fill the space as land and ocean. The ancestral planet introduced vegetation to create a world connected to its fate, and the giant beast clan collectively moved in. After several epochs of expansion, it has become the current spiritual realm. Xenomorphs are creatures that mutate in the giant beast race, often giving birth to new talents with great potential. Speaking of which, Tian-gu, why don't you know anything? How did you cultivate until now? You even subdued the head of the Qilin. Meng Xiying was very puzzled. Isn't all of this recorded in the book? Listening to Meng Xiying's sudden question, Wanhuantian felt a bit embarrassed, and immediately recounted his own experiences to her in detail. Chapter 10. Actually. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the cave. This roasted animal meat is quite good, but it's a bit bland without any seasoning. Meng Xiying sat on the ground holding roasted animal meat, nibbling on it while listening to Wanhuantian recounting his experiences, occasionally interjecting. As the two chatted and gradually got to know Wanhuantian, Meng Xiying became more and more relaxed, and her attitude became much more casual. After Wanhuantian finished speaking. Are you saying that you inexplicably fell here? And then you picked up an egg? And hatched a Qilin? And inexplicably bound to your fate? And you also used this to embark on the path of cultivation from a mortal? Meng Xiying was jealous, her face completely changed. The Qilin alien that was sent to her door inexplicably entered the cultivation. You're lucky, aren't you? I fell here alone for 8 years, and when I first arrived, I was only 8 years old. When Huantian was speechless. 8 years old, 8 years old, 16 years old, you're really the same age as me. So, where have you reached in your cultivation? Meng Xiying asked excitedly. She was born and attracted the favor of the waterway. She was guarded by Qingxongjinchen, a disciple of Qingxongjinchen, who nurtured her body with precious medicine from childhood. She reached the extraordinary realm of 16, and did not encounter any opponents at the same level. There is no fixed era for her. It can be said that she needs talent and looks, financial resources and looks, strength and looks. She is simply invincible. As soon as she heard that Wanhuantian was the same age as her, she immediately felt that she could pretend. After all, Wanhuantian had been pretending all along, which scared her. At an extraordinary level, I feel like there's still some room for improvement before I can reach the next level. Wanhuantian looked at Meng Xiying, who was somewhat excited, feeling a bit confused. Extraordinary level. You take more medication than I do, right? Meng Xiying lost her confidence. Medicine. What medicine? Wanhuantian was a bit confused. You can tell from his bird-like appearance that he doesn't even know what medicine is. I want to be quiet. Meng Xiying silently turned around and squatted down, biting the beast's flesh fiercely. How could there be such a dog-like person in this world? Watching Meng Xiying turn around and remain silent, Wanhuantian couldn't understand what was wrong with her and didn't know how to talk, so he had to eat the animal meat. Quiet for a while. How did you get chased by that lion? Or were you sent by the Beast King? Shouldn't we run away and stay in a different place? Finally, Wanhuantian broke his silence and reacted, asking. There's no need to run. I believe that the Beast King wouldn't dare to come here to take a look. Meng Xiying turned around and answered, looking at Wanhuanlin who was gnawing on bones, his eyes full of jealousy. As for me, I have become extraordinary at the age of 16, and my elders are happy. My grandfather brought me to the spiritual world and said he wanted to find a spiritual beast contract to help me. Unexpectedly, as soon as I arrived here, I encountered 3 beast kings fighting for a few precious medicines. My grandfather handed me a plant and was then targeted by the 3 beast kings. There was no way, but my grandfather stopped the Beast King and asked me to run first, and then I was chased by their subordinates. Meng Xiying looked helpless and said, I didn't know I almost fell here. She was in a very bad mood. Then your grandfather sighed. It's okay, my grandfather is a nihilistic level master, just a three-headed Beast King. If he can't fight it, he can still run away, Meng Xiying said with a nonchalant expression. When it comes to this dream, I get angry. What's wrong with being so good and not being cheap? I have to pull out a plant of medicine and throw it to myself. This grandfather is really unreliable. He almost fell for such a plant of medicine. Okay, and the most important thing is, how can we go back to our ancestral star? Wantian is now most concerned about this. When my unreliable grandfather comes to me, he can take us back. Oh, by the way, hurry up and recall Qilin to the contract space. Qilin is covered in treasures all over, and if someone finds out, they will be targeted. In the future, when you return to Xizhen, don't be seen by anyone until you become a true god. Meng Xiying quickly said, oh, good. Watching Meng Xiying feel a bit anxious, Wantian also quickly discussed with Wanlin. Dog, I can only wrong you for now. Big brother, I will definitely achieve enlightenment as soon as possible. Contract space is a unique space created by the contract between humans and beasts, which is sufficient for the survival and cultivation of contract beasts. No one knows how this is formed, only that this space can only be perceived by the people and beasts in the contract, which is very mysterious. Why wait for your grandfather to come before you can return to your ancestral star? Oh my, the spiritual realm is created by attaching to the space of the ancestral star. When reaching the level of touching the Tao, the space can be initially broken, and the level of enlightenment can temporarily survive in the broken space. The level of nothingness can sense the position of the two realms and temporarily open up a stable spatial channel connecting them. Meng Xiying patiently explained, looking at Wantian, who knows nothing and is very easy to learn, still has a sense of achievement. But after my grandfather arrives, he may have to find a suitable spiritual beast contract for me to go back. I don't know what kind of spirit beast contract you want. Wantian asked. That must be beautiful, and one with high talent and potential. After all, a contract is meant to be with me for a lifetime. If my potential is not high, I won't be able to accompany me to see the peak of cultivation. Meng Xiying pondered, I think your Qilin is very good. Alas, unfortunately, why can't I meet it? I haven't seen any other Qilin before, but according to your request, I do know that a silver fox with 9 tails is also incredibly fast, and I can't even catch up. It often comes to me to steal food. It's annoying, when Wantian thought for a moment. 9 tails. Silver fox. 9 tails silver fox. Extraordinary level. That's quite good, talented enough, and also good looking. Riding it out is definitely handsome. Meng Xiying was a little excited, I'll take it. When my grandfather comes, I'll go catch it. Do you know where it lives? I know where to live. I secretly followed it once last time and found its place to live. I was planning to launch a surprise attack and beat it up, but it slipped away and even mocked me. Wantian was a bit angry. We can go and see if it's at home now.